If you wouldn't mind, please, like I said, thank you for joining us. Like, subscribe, and share this episode. Please get it out to all of your friends, all of your people in your precinct, all of your family members. If we can, the more eyeballs we get on it, the better. If you would like to support our podcast, you can do so by dropping us a Rumble rant if you're on Rumble, or a super chat on YouTube, and Abby will definitely read those.
Yes, I will.
And we want to thank R30 for your sponsorship. R30 is awesome. He's been our sponsor from day one, and I have a lot of people who have taken his classes for his concealed carry classes, and he also offers private investigation. And so thank you very much, R30, for your sponsorship. And well, I'm going to get to Ro, but Ro is also our sponsor. We have the Salvo man himself here today. Ro has sponsored us, and he's going to be here talking about Salvo, so we're going to delve more into that later. Did I miss any housekeeping items?
No, I think you're good.
I think I'm good. Oh, we got Stu.
Oh, yeah.
Stu's over here. Pushing buttons.
Say hi, Stu.
Say hi, Stu. Sorry, Stu. Okay, so tonight is the first night of Hanukkah. So Chag Sameach, Happy Hanukkah, everyone. Very excited to be here. So we're going to have Ro lead us in the blessing over the candles.
Absolutely. You're going to light them and I can do the blessing?
Yes, I told him that I will agree to this as long as I am not singing.
I thought you said you're going to sing.
No. I don't think anybody needs to hear that.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של חנוכה.
אמן.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר עשה ניסים לאבותינו בימים ההם, בזמן הזה.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. You want to say them in English?
Yes. So the first blessing is Blessed art
thou, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, sanctified us by commandments and commanded us to kindle the Hanukkah lights.
Yes. And in the second verse, the second part is, he made miracles for us then, he will make miracles for us now.
Amen.
Amen.
And he certainly is. So we have some treats here. We have dreidels that Ro brought. And...
Oh! I've done it for about 47 years.
Oh, I've never seen the upside down spin. My kids are going to love that one.
Oh, off the phone.
Oh, that's
there
fun.
You go. It's really fun. And the thing is that, for those who don't know, just real quick, this is the oldest Jewish toy ever.
Oh.
All right? It's made out of wood, and it has letters on this. It says Nun, Gimel, Hey, and Shin. So it says Nes Gadol Haya Sham, which means a big miracle happened there. And the way you play it is you kind of, you have your guilt, right? Jews are good with profits, right? Gross profits and net profits.
That's right. Gimel.
and then you kind of gamble your thing. You play that thing, and then wherever it lands, like I'll call a number, Gimel, and if it lands on Gimel, I get her guilt.
Okay.
Right? Really simple for kids, but it commemorates the Nes Gadol Haya Sham, means a miracle, a big miracle Haya Sham, which means there in Israel. In Israel, when you get this dreidels, it says it has a pay in it, which is his po, which a big miracle happened here. So dreidel in Israel, it says one thing. Here it says something else. Very geographically appropriate.
It is. It's the oldest game. So the kids, I was talking to the kids today, and so the tradition comes from, and the idea comes from. So the story of Hanukkah is a story of fighting against tyranny. It's a story of redemption. It's got all the things in it.
Light versus darkness.
Light versus darkness. The little
familiar.
big, literally the little one, the little people versus the big government, telling everybody what to do. So we had a whole conversation about that today. But these were, so the Greeks were telling the Jewish people that they could not teach their children Hebrew. They couldn't practice Judaism. So they were not letting them light Shabbat candles. They were keeping them from being able to practice their faith. So they would have lessons with the kids with Hebrew, and then whenever the soldiers would come by to check and see what they were doing, they'd pull out little wooden tops and play games. And so then the soldiers had no idea what they were doing. So that is where that comes from. And then we also have, which we're going to probably munch on, I don't know if the camera can see these, but they're jelly donuts, suganyot, which are yummy.
I mean, what donuts aren't yummy?
Yeah, because they're fried in oil, because we celebrate Hanukkah and it's a miracle of the oil. So these are here if anyone wants to dig in. All right.
powdered sugar all over my face.
All over your face, all over the microphone.
All over.
I'll wait till after we're done, but I'll definitely dig into one of those later.
So, all right. So, who's got some updates before we get into more on Salvo? And
I have a couple updates. The governor's future budget was released, so I don't know if anybody checked that out. So that's really good information. He's looking at a $114.4 billion budget. It is reduced by
I was going to say it's smaller than this year's.
It's reduced by $4.6 billion, and he's estimating reserves of $16.3 billion. So I haven't dug into it all, but definitely check it out because I'm hearing that or from what I glanced through, there's some insurance savings. Extra
Almost $500 million.
what does that mean? How is he going to do insurance savings?
He's allocating almost, I think it's like $434 million to help homeowners with their property insurance. So I don't know how the legislature
Reduction of other taxes that you would otherwise
Yeah,
pay.
I mean, I know like typically when you pay an insurance premium, there's like the terrorism component and there's fees and that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that's some of the stuff they're reducing, but
Interesting. Where's it posted?
Great question. It's probably on the state website or the governor's website, I'm sure.
Yeah, you could probably find it on both. I mean,
It
because
got emailed to me, so that's how I got it.
Why are you so special? How'd you get it? She's on the good list. She's on the nice list, not the naughty list.
Yes.
But I also noticed that there is a couple extra tax holidays in there.
even more?
Yeah, so like the school one, they're also planning on doing a winter one for like electronics and clothes and stuff. So for during winter break. For like your Christmas or Hanukkah presents, you would get an extra savings next year. So I thought that was pretty smart. So I'll be diving into it a little bit more. So I'll be highlighting some things. So coming up in the near future and future episodes, probably a little bit more next episode is probably be a good time to dive in a little bit.
Look at it.
Yep. Locally, I'm really excited for Palm Beach County REC right now. There's a lot of things kind of going on that I'm kind of a little bit of excited about. They're creating committees and they're really working on party unification. So I'm really excited to see what kind of messaging and things are going to come out of that. I'm very heavily involved in that, so I'm going to be kind of giving people some updates. So now is a really good time, I think, to join the Palm Beach County REC if you're looking to do that.
Or
So-
the Broward County REC.
Yes, and I mean I can't speak for Breck, but I can tell you we are working in Palm Beach County to unify the party and come out strong for our candidates starting in 2024. So at least as the South County Regional Director, I will be working at that in my region for sure. So we have a couple great candidates that are coming up. Brian Stedberg for one, City of Boca Raton. He did not pay for that sponsorship, but I'll get something from him later.
But
I
he's
promise.
worth it. He's
But
worth it.
he's definitely worth it. So definitely a big shout out to Brian Stedberg as we go into municipals. His election or municipal election is March 19th.
I was just going to add in real quick. I don't know if anybody was planning to talk about this. If they did, I'm sorry. But the state, so the Democrats, and did you guys see this, that the Democrats are not having a primary?
Yes.
Which means that for our municipal Republican candidates, we have a real shot at getting them elected.
Because there's no Democrat
there's
presidential
no
preference
right.
primary.
So if if a Democrat was coming out to vote for the presidential preference primary and they don't have that, they don't care as much about local, then they're not going to come out and vote. And as long as people know who the Republican is in that, or the more conservative candidate, if we want to be,
Since the municipals are nonpartisan.
since they're nonpartisan,
Yeah.
so the more conservative candidate,
So nothing changes for Brian. He still needs to get out the vote.
he still needs to
Yes.
get out the vote. Exactly. But it means that it does shift it just a little bit. I
It
think
makes
there's-
it a little easier, but
Yeah.
yeah. No, don't take your foot off the gas, anybody.
No,
It's
no,
just
no,
an
no, no.
interesting- It's just an interesting factor in this whole
did
thing.
they vote as a party to not have...
So,
Nikki Free just said,
Well, from what I understand,
Get in, loser. We're
they
going
decided
losing.
not to basically, she decided not to put anyone else on the ballot, and if there's no other Democrat on the ballot, then they don't have the election, and that's by
But
default.
did she make that decision unilaterally?
I think so.
She's such a moron. I'm
I
sorry.
don't know. If any Democrats are watching you in a way, and I don't know how their
Did you hear,
process works.
speaking of the Democrats, did you hear how they were spinning the special election down to Miami-Dade the other night?
No.
Oh, yeah, because it was a Republican plus, oh gosh, like 20. It's like it's a very
King had 67% of the vote in 22.
yeah.
Wow.
So they were, it was only +6 this election, but I mean they only had about
7,000 people showed up
7,000 out
instead
of
of 40,000.
right, and they were spinning it like, oh, we're narrowing the gap, like we're trending in the right direction. It's like, okay, Nikki.
What happened there is the Miami Young Republicans
Yes.
took the Florida Democrats to the woodshed.
I like it.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's
And I
exactly
think
what
they
happened.
just started following us on Instagram.
Really?
Yeah.
Shout out to
Shout
the
out.
Miami Young Republicans.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Or maybe on
Yeah.
Twitter, one of our socials.
One of our socials. Share
Whatever.
it, like it, spread it around. Okay,
Whatever.
sorry.
Awesome.
All right, go back to your
Two more
update.
things. Senate Bill 636 is exemptions from immunizations. So be sure to read that bill and call your state senator if that's something that you agree with and are interested in. I haven't had a chance to read the bill myself yet, but I'm hearing really good things. So be sure to read it. If it's something that you stand for, be sure to call your state senators and let them know to vote for it. Also, another Florida state statute is 720.304, and this is for homeowners associations. This allows that homeowners associations cannot discriminate or keep you from having a political get-together. So be sure to look through that and make sure that your HOA charters reflect that state change.
Can we do get-togethers door to door?
I don't think so.
It's a movable potluck party.
Yeah. Just one of
Progressive
those
dinner.
buses.
That's what
It's
they have.
a
That's
roaming potluck.
It's
You know
a
those-
progressive dinner.
Progressive dinner.
Yeah.
Those soulless buses, those bar buses. And we're gonna have a get together.
There was one.
There
There
you
was
go.
one in the
There
parade
you go.
yesterday that was a rolling drink truck,
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
cocktails and
So
Full of
bas-
door hangers.
So basically, this just makes it that no entity or entities shall unreasonably restrict any parcel owner's right to peaceably assemble or the right to invite public officers or candidates for public office to appear and speak in common areas or recreational facilities.
So that means if you are an HOA and you want to host a get together
Like a
for
candidate
a candidate,
event. Yeah.
you can
Yep.
And the HOA can't
tell
discriminate,
you no.
say like, no, we don't host political parties. Because I mean, I don't know about how you guys feel, but I think HOAs are mainly communist.
Yes,
and
they are.
I consciously made the decision to buy both of my homes that I've owned in my adult life, not in HOA neighborhoods.
Same.
Right.
Yes.
So this is a great way to host candidate forums, to be able to give your candidates a voice, to be able to bring your neighborhood together and create unity and create community around your candidates.
Unity and community.
And so this is a great, and just to kind of get people's names out there, because people get flyers in the mail. They usually just throw them away. Gives them an opportunity to actually hear from the candidates. And in my personal opinion, let the Democrats show up if that's what they want to do. And the way that they can be heard and debate the issues is how we get the best candidates in office. So let the best man win. Hopefully it's a Republican, and we can go from there. But this is great news. This is great news, and it kind of it makes it so that our HOAs can't be so partisan.
Thank you for being so communist.
And I don't care about the Democrats. Democrats should show up. They should listen to what we have to
Amen.
say.
Exactly.
I have a problem with the progressives.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's very true too. So this just gives more people an opportunity to hear from the candidates. A lot of candidates struggle with so many gated communities here in South Florida to be able to get their messaging out. So this gives them an opportunity to go to where the voters are, and it gives them an opportunity to be heard. So definitely check your HOA, find out how to do that, and please host a candidate forum and invite your candidates that are up and running for office. Everybody's better off for it because regardless, it holds people accountable. And then you can call them and say, hey, I was in an event and this is what you said you'd do if they get into office. So it's a great way to, it's great how the political realms function.
Is it going to be effective by August or before?
I think it's already in.
It's a past. Oh yeah, you said it was a statute.
Yep, it's already a statute.
So it's law.
All right, cool.
All right. So let's go.
Ryan, let's go.
Let's do it.
So it's a great opportunity. And that's all the updates I have for now.
Abby?
So I already talked about almost $500 million in the budget being allocated towards helping homeowners reduce their property insurance rates. I do know that, after last weekend with the college football playoff selection, I believe that both the governor and the legislature are dedicated.
Good thing Stu doesn't have a microphone.
$1 million, $1 million to fighting the fact that Florida State got left out of the playoffs, which, clearly I'm a Gators fan. They almost beat Florida State the weekend before, but it's pretty crappy that they went undefeated and didn't get in because of, subjective things. So that was the only thing I wanted to say about, state budget. And I don't know if that's in the budget or that they're just allocating resources to.
Interesting. We'll have to see
Isn't it great that we live in such a free state that we can, $16 billion in rainy day funds?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
It is a well-run state.
Well-run
16.3.
state. Over time, Rick Scott.
Yeah.
Going back, right?
Oh, even going back to, I think going back to Jeb.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
just like he's the one that started the VPK.
Yeah.
He started, each governor since Jeb, because obviously the one before him was Lawton Chiles and he was a Democrat.
Yep.
But each one has put things into play and just built upon the prior's success. And I think.
And the legislature.
Yeah.
And the
Yes.
legislature.
Yep.
We have great legislators.
Yeah.
Representative Rick Roth.
Yep.
Little plug.
Representative Chip LaMarca is my
Caruso.
representative.
I like them all.
Gossett Sideman.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what
As long
else.
as they stay in their lane.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stay in your lane.
And as long as they listen and they fight for us.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
so that they also know, this is a big thing for me right now, and I'm going to be pushing this hard in 2024, is our legislators don't have to go and create bills. They can actually repeal them and make them better. And make and I'm telling you, candidates right now, if you back off Americans, and this is across every state, but I'm talking, right here in Florida, if you get into office and you say that you are going to repeal bills and keep the government off of the residents of Florida, you're going to win those NPA votes. It's going to be huge, is to limit government. If you just campaign on limiting government and looking at some of these bills that are restraining our local city and county officials, you're going to win.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yesterday or the day before, whenever the school board Broward County School Board meeting was, it was probably Tuesday. Usually they meet on Tuesdays.
What's today?
Today's Thursday.
I don't know where I'm at.
So
Podcast day, Josie.
Podcast day.
with the new legislation that parents can basically report books that they find may be questionable, not appropriate, offensive to their school boards. Someone in Broward reported the Bible. Specifically the New Testament. And so that was a topic of discussion at the school board meeting this week. And the school board did vote 9-0 to keep the Bible in our public school libraries. So
Awesome.
that was definitely a win
Did
for
they teach the Bible in Broward?
I don't know.
schools?
They don't teach it, but they have it available in the
They
library.
should.
I mean,
I think some
I agree
classes.
with you.
I
In
think
Israel, I
that
grew up. That was the curriculum.
it was part of the curriculum,
Yeah.
the Bible.
Yeah.
I think they teach. I think you can take in some of the world history
Elective.
classes. Well, and I know my friend teaches world history. No, she's American history. Ooh, she was at one point. She's taught all the things, but I know that in world history they also teach world religions. So they do teach on on Christianity, on Judaism, on the big three, and then smaller religions. And so they do probably have the texts in the classrooms for that reason because they are teaching them. But
in Israel, they taught us the Bible for critical thinking. So
Yeah.
it wasn't dogmatic. It wasn't like you going to church or to synagogue, right? It was about here's a paragraph, analyze it.
Yeah.
argue for, argue against it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have got a lot of good Jewish lawyers who are religious.
Who have
right?
multiple opinions.
We're religious because they argue the
And that was,
interpretation of the Bible.
That was what was done in the synagogues, is that debate and questions.
Still, I mean, that's like
Yeshiva.
that's all we do. Like, in the Hebrew school that I teach in, and the kids like, I'm like, all right, they ask some questions. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know the answer to that one. I guess you guys should talk about it and see what you come up with. I don't know that one, guys. They get some of these deep questions, these kids. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, so Bible.
So that was a big local, Broward County thing this week. I'm trying to think.
If anything pops in. Yeah. So I have personally update, so just kind of put it out there. Officially, I'm not in the commissioner's office anymore. Not anything. Everything's great. It was a mutual decision on both of our parts that I was always part-time and kind of helping her get her staff up and running. She's got amazing staffers that are full-time. And so campaign season.
Shout out to Christian and Caitlin.
Yeah, shout out to Christian and Caitlin and Jessica. And so campaign season is going to be kicking off soon. And so I'm moving more towards campaign side of things. And so, so just kind of putting that out there because I know a lot of people know.
We
know
need
that
your expertise to get these awesome Republican candidates.
people
make
elected.
More of them.
Make more candidates. That's what I'm going to do.
them.
That's what I'm going to do. So, and then I went to the Christmas parade last night at Boca. It's always so much fun. There's people from all over.
Freezing.
It was
freezing.
It was a great night for activities.
It was a beautiful night. My
Yeah.
kids were definitely wearing their winter coats and they insisted on bringing their mittens. I'm pretty sure they were all sweating inside their
For
winter
my
coats.
friends in Virginia, it was 72 degrees.
It was 60.
It got down into the 60s.
It got down into the 60s,
It was 60.
and it was dropping.
When we
For
left,
my
it was
friends in Virginia, it was
59.
60 degrees.
It was 59.
It was
I did
dropping.
not move here from Michigan to be cold, people. That's all I got to
All
say.
right, fair enough.
But it was a lot of fun. The kids love it. They get to see all the bands and all the cheerleaders and all the things. So we had a good time. So that is what's up. So let's jump into Ro. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got to what you're doing, what you do for those people who might not know kind of how it all came together, how we all got here.
Yeah.
Give us a story.
Sure, yeah.
And we'll interrupt with questions.
Interrupt me all the time because I can go off down rabbit holes.
As can we.
So do we.
Yeah. So
We just have to leave by 9.
Yeah.
that's okay. I just don't want them to leave. That's all.
Stay.
So my background is I was born in Israel. I moved here 10 days after my bar mitzvah back in 1989, and I moved to the big Jewish hotspot of Fort Myers, Florida.
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, I don't see Fort Myers being heavily
not
Jewish.
5 of them, So it was nice. I love Southwest Florida. It's amazing. It grew nicely. But then I ended up here in South Florida. I am a tech entrepreneur. I'm a software developer by trades. I made my life as easy as possible. And by the way, one of the things I always like to say is when my parents brought me to this country, they said, this is a country that's made for you, for people like you. The freedoms, the opportunities, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I didn't even know about it before, but that's what my parents told me about when I was 13 years old. And they gave me the order, go and prosper. And I did. One thing my father told me, he said, don't break the law. So I followed my father's and my parents' decision and I took advantage of it, and they were right until 2020. Mm-hmm. And in 2020, now looking back at it, it's been happening for much longer.
Right.
In 2020 is when, I voted for Trump in 2016, right? And
Have you always been a Republican?
Yes. As soon as my first elections was Gore and what's his name was on VP with him?
Lieberman, yeah.
Right?
That was the 2000 election.
2000, yeah.
2000 election, I voted for Bush. Yeah.
What about your parents? Were they
Oh, it's really good. So in Israel, if you're Likud, you're
conservative?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's conservative. It's nationalists, economic nationalism, security, sovereignty, individualism, things like that. I always say constitutional conservatism is the equivalent of Zionism. So Zionism is the Jews' right to self-actualization in their homeland, right? constitutional conservatism is our rights.
Right.
Right. That is that individual right, but it gives it to all Americans. Right. So that's my kind of anyway. So 2020, and listen, I work in the e-commerce space. My company is in the e-commerce space, so it's pretty much recession proof. And even 2020, the baseline for e-commerce shopping in 2020 went up 10%.
Right.
within
It was
3
one of the
months.
only industries that went sky high.
Yeah, because everybody started Ubering during the lockdowns and all that, and Instacarting, and that became the baseline. You don't go down from there. So I was doing well, but when I saw what's happening around the country with those progressives, I knew about them before. But I didn't realize, and I've been watching Europe for a long time, seeing it happening there. And so when I saw it happening here, when I saw Kenosha, Wisconsin, when I saw a man with a fire extinguisher trying to protect his store, and the mob beat him down, and the girls were laughing, videoing him, and I cried because I immediately thought about my daughters, and I thought about. That's not what I came here for. That's why my parents didn't bring me here. This is not what they taught me, and it's been okay. It's been great, and all of a sudden it went down south, and then so I got involved. I activated. So fly to fight, I fight. So I was like, where can I live in Broward County, so where can I go and help somebody?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Southwest Ranches.
Oh man, opposite corner of the county. But I didn't realize you were Broward. I thought you were Palm Beach all this time.
I am.
Nope.
Well, in a second,
We
you'll see
stole
why
him.
I'm Palm Beach in here.
Okay.
We stole him.
So I where was I? So I realized that I need to go help somebody, and I didn't know local back then. I knew federal, like most people.
Like
right?
we all did.
Right? So I looked around and I was like, the closest congresswoman to me is Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Nope. So I looked up north a bit and I was like, who's this Laura Loomer? Never heard of her before. And I went ahead and I joined that campaign. And the one thing about that campaign, it was a ton of volunteers. It was well organized. And I learned so much. I learned politicking. And we were motivated. And we did all these caravans and we did those flotillas. I mean, for those of you who don't know, in Palm Beach, flotillas, there was 5,000 boats for Trump, right?
Oh, yeah.
Something like that.
Right? And they're like this far apart. I'm not
It's
exaggerating.
terrifying.
But nobody bumps into each other.
No.
Why? It's all conservatives driving those boats,
Yeah.
piloting those boats.
Yeah.
We know what we're doing there. And you see all that energy. And I remember seeing a video of the red wave in Kansas City, seeing the same thing with all big red, right? And then the 2020 elections happened. And I knew there is just no way. I've seen what's happening there, right? There's just no way that what happened actually happened. What they claimed happened. And I didn't know anything about elections. Nothing. I just got into politics, helping in a campaign like 6 months before, right? So, but I knew, understanding, coming from Israel and understanding the enemy that is Islamists and that is the progressives, because they are an unholy alliance. That the second that they destroy us, they're going to destroy each other.
Oh, yeah.
And the Islamists will win. The Islamists will destroy the progressives.
Yes.
They'll toss them off of buildings.
Yes. Which is crazy that they don't understand that. I'm like,
No.
do you understand what you're doing? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they don't, but it's mind-boggling. to
Chickens
watch.
for KFC.
Chickens. I was just about to say that. Chickens
Yeah.
for KFC. Exactly.
So, yeah.
I used to manage KFC restaurants. Back in the day, yeah, so that's
Did you
hilarious.
ever have chicken say, throw me into the fryer?
please.
That's what's
please,
happening
sir,
with the
some more.
progressives.
Right.
That's what's happening.
You see all of these like crazy liberals that are like converting to Islam, and they're like, "I'm wearing a hijab for the first time.
I'm reading the
doing
Quran."
TikToks." I'm like, I mean,
I
I'm
love
not,
the Quran.
you know,
It's a beautiful book.
I'm like, what is wrong with you people? Like, do you not understand what you're signing up for?
It's a mental illness.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Liberalism definitely
It
is.
is. It
Yeah.
is. It is. So, all right.
So anyway,
I
so
think that's in
No,
the
no.
governor's budget, by the way, more mental health coverage. So if anybody needs help,
The progressives.
So Nikki Fried should be happy.
Yes, yes.
she can finally get the help.
you need the help she needs. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the Unholy Alliance.
Yeah, Unholy Alliance, and I realized. So I understood that something is wrong, and I said I got to keep fighting. And then I connected with a grassroots organization called Defend Florida. Raj Dorsami, Caroline Weatherington.
That's how you know Jeannie.
That's how I know Jean, because
Yeah.
Jean recruited me, and
Yeah.
Jean. So the story about you call her Jeannie, I call her Jean. She said, "Call me whatever you want, just don't call me late for dinner." So Jean, I met up with her. We went in Weston to a Republican meeting, and then I was like, "Okay, how can I help?" Raj connected me with Jean, and then Jean was like, "There's this. You're a data guy. Check out the voter." I was like, "How do I get the voter rolls?" So we met in the back parking lot, and she gave me a disc from the Department of State. I was in my Jeep. I rolled down the window. She gave it to me.
I have a PC in Lighthouse Point that orders that from the state like every single month.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I load the voter rolls into Salvo every single month.
Yep.
Yep. So I didn't know about it back then. And I didn't know about the NVRA. I didn't know about all these things where you're supposed to have it. It's supposed to be, I learned so much. I learned in 3 years, I learned 20 years worth of information just because I immersed
I
myself.
feel like that's how we all have been over
Yeah.
the last
Right?
3
Yeah.
years. I might have so
We were
much
born
more.
for such a time as this.
Amen.
So think about what Marcy did.
Yeah.
In 2 years, she became a county commissioner from zero to hero.
Yeah.
Right? And she's
Heck
she is
yeah.
a hero, and most people need to be in her template.
I don't think those candles are going to last 8 nights, guys.
No. Anyway, so they're very calming though.
Yes.
They
Yes, they
are.
are.
I think we should have candles lit everywhere. I'm really liking
Well,
it.
we're going to turn into Joe Rogan here. We're going to have candles.
Wait, then we have to light something.
Oh, yes.
I know. I was just going to say, I don't think we have enough smoke in here for Joe
I
Rogan.
didn't know that was an option.
Okay.
Come more often. So
Right?
Okay, so she hands it to you in the Jeep.
So yeah, and then I'm gonna speed it up a bit. So,
No, this is good. This
So,
is good.
so I go in, I load it up, I start reading it, and I'm like, oh my god, this is just like e-commerce. In e-commerce, you have a product, you have an order, and order item. You have a product and product description, right? What's the voter role? Voter, voting history, the base of it, right? So coming from a place where I process billions of data transactions a year for e-commerce merchants through my software. My e-commerce software, I knew exactly immediately how to handle it. So when individuals in the election integrity space, for example, will take individual voter rolls from a county, they'll PRR Wendy Link or something, and they'll pay $20 and they'll get it. I got it from the state. So from the beginning, I worked with the big data. So I would see things across the state. I see people moving around the state. When you getting the data for just one county, you
can't
have
see that.
You have a small
Right.
picture,
Yeah.
right? So, but that was just me because just give it to me. I know how to process it. Let me run it. I did one-to-one with my discipline, which is e-commerce and data processing for e-commerce, and it just worked out well. And then the canvassing that I learned in Laura Loomer's campaign and the team that I had with them, I put it together. I realized, okay, in Florida, there's 1.5 in Mr. Cord Bird, Secretary Bird. Still to this day, I see 1.5 million voters that need to be removed from the voter rolls.
Wow.
Wow.
Right? So, and
It's the population of Palm Beach County.
yeah, 900,000, I think, on the voter rolls in Palm
On the
Beach
voter
County,
rolls, what I'm
'cause
saying,
nobody-
like as far as
yeah.
population, that's
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
equivalent
That's
of the
the
population.
equivalent of residents. Yeah.
And that has
Equals
not
population.
changed. As much as I love Florida and I love the legislature and I love our leaders here, that has not changed. The election, I think we have good elections in Florida. I think we have safe and secure elections in Florida. But local elections are determined by sometimes 11 votes. What is the runoff that they had here with the Democrats? They had 11 votes difference. That was in 23 when Jason Mariner ran.
No, it was 9, and it might have been even fewer than that.
That's it.
The Democrat primary. Yeah.
And that was so the point is that
Yeah.
That's right.
in a corrected world, the voter rolls will be pristine.
Right.
Right? There's ways to do it. We need to have political will. But anyway, so the way we did it is we we loaded up. We had 35 counties. We had 300 at some point. We had 500 canvassers across the state within 34 counties.
With Defend Florida.
Right? And you got to understand, it's not like going to a campaign and begging people to come and door knock for you.
No.
People, America first. People I love, and I learned to love even more. I am one. They were determined to find out what's going on and to learn what's happening with our governance. And if we have elections or if we have selections. And now, everything that I'm saying here, please do not conflate Maricopa County with Palm Beach County. Do not conflate Fulton, right? You could probably conflate Fulton County with Broward County. All right?
Broward.
All right?
Broward's going to Broward.
Yeah.
Yes, and Alachua County.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Places like that, right? Go Gators. So we knocked on doors. We knocked on 24,000.
So when you go knocking on doors, you're looking for?
We're looking for irregularities in the voter rolls. And the way we saw it, what I did is give me so back then it was very basic, right? It was like the people who have been registered the longest who haven't voted for the longest.
Who have not voted for the longest.
Yes.
Okay.
Did either of you do Defend Florida? I did. I knocked doors for Defend Florida.
So you knocked off of my
Yeah.
data. All right. So
And you can only do this during non-election years, right? Is that right? I heard that somewhere. Is that true?
Well, Wendy Link does it every 3 months.
Okay. Never mind.
But that's not the standard.
Okay.
She's really good about voter rolls.
Okay.
Yeah, we need her in Broward. Get rid of Joe Scott.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are gonna scream at me. I think we need Wendy Link in every election office. But anyway, so
Scream away.
yeah,
Gets us engaged.
I can't hear anything.
We can't hear you. No, I was just kidding.
Well, she got a great staff. They got 15 people maintaining the voter rolls in Palm Beach County.
Wow.
15
Full-time employees.
Yeah, and the director.
Which is why she asked for more money.
There we are.
Yeah, I mean, you
gotta pay staff to do
We can
this.
unpack that, but there's also flaws there. There's also the other side of election fraud or election fortification, as Robert Barnes likes to call it. There is the mail ballots and signature verification part, which I don't think Palm Beach is transparent about that.
Okay, so I have questions on that, but let's get to Salvo.
So now Brevard is, and there's a way to be transparent about it, and Palm Beach is not. But anyway, so
You said Brevard is? Brevard
County.
Okay.
It's fantastic. In Brevard County, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. So you knocked on doors for Defend Florida, 300 people more. We found, we knocked on 24,000 doors. Not every door opens, right? But 5,000 irregularities, compiled them into affidavit. Great guy that shepherded us out of Virginia. His name is John Jaggers. He was one of the founders of the Tea Party in Virginia. So he gave us. He wasn't just he was also in Trump's administration. He's a cleaner. He's a deep state cleaner.
DC Drano?
DC Drano, that's it, exactly.
Well, there's this Instagram. I don't want to
No.
There's an Instagram account. That goes
I like that.
Yeah, he
That
goes
guy's
like,
good. But
his
John
handle's
Jagger
DC Drano.
is
DC Drano.
Yeah. But
Brian says hi.
Hi, Brian.
And welcome, Ro.
Jaggers shepherded us onto how to handle politicians and how to handle the
Kid gloves. No, I'm just kidding.
the secretaries for the politicians, right? And the legislative directors and all that. We didn't know anything, right? And phrases and like the phrase of, dirty voters, blah, blah, blah. He goes, no. Lawless elections. So he taught me this phrase. Lawless elections. I'm sorry. Dirty voter rolls and negligent vote-by-mail signature verification are a recipe for lawless elections. All right? You speak to a legislator. You don't say fraud, 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 fraud. Machine,
Right.
machine. You say lawless elections use it in your election systems. All right?
So it's same with anything else. It's using the right type of phraseology to get your point across.
Because
To
they
people-
live on political capital.
Yep.
And the media, especially the media against conservatives,
Right.
right? They love to catch them in gotcha moments.
Right.
right?
Oh,
So
fraud.
if a politician is never going to agree to you to say, toss the machines. But if you're telling them make the election systems more transparent, that's a little bit, it doesn't cost them political capital, right? It's a little bit easier to defend. It's a little bit easier to stand in a hearing, to sit in a hearing and say that word, right? So so we lobbied. I worked with Secretary of State Laura Lee. I worked with, not worked, I interfaced with. And then Doug Beffert. We worked very close with him on various parts of voter rolls. We focused on the voter rolls. And there's ways, that's what I was saying before, there's ways with voter rolls, with any system. Think about it for a second. If you are a lawyer and you have a docket, right? And you have to file at certain times, and you have 50 cases, what happens if you miss a filing? You're screwed.
Right.
You're bad. How do you make sure that you don't miss a filing? You have compliance engines that run on your system and alert you when something is coming.
Something's happening. Right.
Why don't we have that with voter rolls? Hey, this returned undeliverable. You need to send address confirmation notice, right? Hey, the address confirmation notice did not return in 30 days. You need to send a final notice.
Is that something that exists in other places that they do that and we just don't do it? Or is it not a process that exists? Sorry, I feel like you're about to tell me the answer.
No, I'm glad that you say that. But you guys understood it right away, which is great. Well, you're smart people, but
We try.
We try. That's the extra cup of coffee I have.
that's what I've been working on with my team to work on, because we believe that election systems can have compliance engines tapped into them, diagnostics.
So why not use technology to make things better?
Yes. Don't be afraid of technology. Leverage it.
Right.
If you get rid of machines, and by the way, people are using different terminology all the time.
Oh, I know. Anytime anyone says anything about we need to get rid of the machines, I'm like, what machine?
What
you
machine?
need to be very specific with what type of machine you're talking about. Oh, the ones that switch votes. We don't use machines that switch votes. We don't vote on machines.
We need American-made open source tabulators.
Yes.
Right? That's what we need, right? And those need to be transparent with a software system, which is a compliance engine, just in the legal industry, just like in the medical industry, right? If you're not applying a certain medicine to somebody in the hospital, that's also a problem, right?
Right.
And you have 1,000 people there. How does a nurse know? Oh, I need to go apply this medicine, give this treatment to that. Systems. But you use technology to oversee technology and to help people.
So is there anywhere in the country where they're doing that type of technology?
No, they don't want to.
No.
They don't want to.
No.
They don't want the transparency.
Now, what was ERIC?
ERIC was a national organization that got states to become members of. Florida was a member of, and ERIC, what they will do is they'll share the voter rolls, and supposedly ERIC will tell them, oh, Josie just moved to New York. By the way, New York wasn't on ERIC, so we had so many people here in Florida. Right? So let's say Josie moved to Georgia. They really cared about Georgia, Louisiana, all the bordering states, and right. So
because that's where all the Floridians are going.
So you should
move north.
Coming from, yeah.
Yeah. So you should remove for the voter rolls. But what they really used it for, now that it came out, and I'm not. I love how they say conspiracy theorists, because you wait.
They end up coming true.
You wait 6 months and the theory part falls off and you have a conspiracy.
And you're a prophet.
Yeah, exactly. So what ERIC was doing, they were using the data to identify eligible but unregistered voters, and they'll give it to progressive institutions, and they'll go out and register them as Democrats and get vote by mail ballots for them, and they used our data against us.
Yeah.
They're so good at that, and we're so bad at it.
Well, we're getting better.
We're getting better. We were bad at it.
Well, people like Cleta Mitchell, what she's been doing she's the queen of election integrity, right? She's been doing it for 40 years. So she's really good. And the way she does it is on the legislative side, and secretaries of state respect her a lot. And, the Constitution Smoking.
I don't want any smoke alarm to go off.
I don't even see a smoke detector in here, but
Yeah.
All right.
So the Constitution gave us. Constitution says the plenary power over elections, the place, means, and manners and time of elections is granted to the state legislatures. So CLETA does a good job. So you can't do things federally, and we
Right.
don't want to do.
We don't
things
want
no,
to.
we don't want that.
So when
No.
somebody's running for
No,
Congress
no,
and
no,
they're
no,
saying,
no.
"Oh, I'm going to do election integrity," I'm like, "No, you're not. The only thing you're going to say is I'm going to make sure that the federal government doesn't get their grubby hands into our elections."
Right.
yes.
Again,
Amen.
again, goes back to what she said. If you're running for something, you don't have to go do things. You can go reel things in, backtrack things.
Simplify it.
Simplify
There's
things.
too many.
Yes.
And when we read the election law in
Yes.
Florida, right? One of another great patriots, Becky Ciroli, out of Marion County. She's a former. She was Defend Florida. She was a former police lieutenant. She was running for State House 27. But what she'll do is she by the way, in her previous career as a police lieutenant, she'll put pedophiles in jail.
Oh, I like that.
She'll go on the dark web and other places, and she'll send the boys to get them.
Nice.
And they'll throw them in jail. So she was really good about PRRs, about data, about law, and she'll be like, "Oh my God, there's just so many." Talking about getting rid of some, there's so many conflicting legislation. It says one thing here, and it says something else completely there, right? And by the way, legislators don't legislate. It's their staff that legislate, right, Jessica?
That's
Yeah,
right.
that is true.
And then,
That
so
is
nobody's
right.
going back to look to see what was already written. They just come up with a new bill, and they're
That's
like,
it.
"Here, sign this."
And nobody ever
Vote on
lobbied.
this.
Nobody ever lobbied for election integrity
Until after 2020.
Until 2020, only
Yeah.
the FEC, the Florida Elections, which is the lobby of the Florida Election Supervisor of Elections, right? I call them I think they're a shadow Department of State when it comes to elections. Right?
Interesting.
The Department of State is responsible for business, right? Cord Bird takes care of business, literally in
Yeah.
Florida. And then elections,
Right.
right? So FSC just pushes everybody over with their lobbyists. So anybody who knows Dave Ramba, let him know to stop pushing us around. So where was I with? I lost my train of thought there. Anyway, so
The conflicting laws.
the conflicting laws now. So all of this, right?
Yeah.
All of that work, right? Now we've been doing it for 2.5 years now, right? All of these things, right, created an amazing grassroots energy in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it motivated people like nobody else. And there is no other movement in the United States than the America First movement. There's no other movement. The progressive movement is not they're a bowel movement. Right?
We're going to clip that one, please.
Yes.
Please do, and use that.
Yeah. The only, and I know we're local here, but the only movement that's created here is the MAGA movement. That is the
Which is America first.
It's a populist America First. What we said before: sovereignty, closed borders, economic energy independence. Right? Stop fighting foreign wars. Right? Everything. We don't need to get into that on a local show, but now that is translating into a Marcy Woodward in Florida, and people are looking at Florida, and everything is happening on a local level in Florida, right? And other states are jealous of Florida, right?
That's right.
Because of that.
Should be.
As they should be.
Yeah, and the governor wiped the floor with California last week.
Oh, he did.
Right?
Really?
He did.
I've only
Oh.
heard clips about it. I didn't get a chance to watch
Oh,
anything.
yeah. No,
What's
I
it
watched it.
Yeah.
It was, everything that comes out of Gavin Newsom's
Well,
mouth is a
he's
lie.
so smarmy.
No, but he exposed him. DeSantis.
Oh, but
Governor DeSantis
he
exposed him big time.
he held up the San Francisco poop map.
Yeah.
I saw the meme. I saw the meme of that, or the
I was
screenshot
like-
of that.
No, I just liked. I
was great.
liked that the governor. I'm a policy guy. That's why I like Trump.
Right.
I don't care about his mean tweets.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't. I like his policy. He gets shit done.
It's fine.
You're a little late, but thanks.
Yeah. So that's what that was the debate. The debate there was policy
Yeah.
against policy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I mean, all you gotta do is call U-Haul and find out who's policy.
Exactly.
That was great.
Yes.
Number one salesman for U-Haul is Gavin
That's
Newsom
right.
in California.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
But
grassroots.
that's what the Democrats have been doing for so long, is that they just lie and they lie and they lie, and
Nobody calls them on their beat.
Right.
And is what happens is most people don't check the lie.
Right.
So I think that's what made a huge difference here in Florida, is that we became very data driven very quickly. So we were checking receipts when things were coming out. When they said that Biden got 81 million votes, we
we got
were like,
$81 million too.
yeah. And it's like, he just says it's a lie, but then it's like, if you look at the receipts that the Republicans are producing, even at a local level, we have, and this is my favorite go-to all the time, Lois Frankel. She gets the votes because she focuses on county when she's here. She does this fall prevention thing. She gets everybody excited.
She goes to all the community meetings.
She goes to community events. She hands out checks. Everybody loves her. Everybody thinks she's great. But nobody checks her record. Nobody checks how she's voting. And that, I think, is a huge, huge difference of what's now happening, especially here in South Florida, is that we're looking at the receipts and we're actually paying attention to how people are voting. I don't know if it's me or not, but I can tell you one thing. Jared Moskowitz is getting a little bit more conservative. I've called him out a couple of times. He may be watching because I'm like, he's backed off a little bit. And so this is how it works, is we get local, we start paying attention to what they're doing, and we're highlighting their stupidity, basically, and people start checking
their
the
real
receipts.
agenda. I don't even know if it's so much their stupidity, but what their real agenda is. And I think this is a lot of what's happening in the Democrat Party and in that world with all the things happening in Israel is, like, we've always known. I've always known. I mean, I can't speak for you, but we've always in our family have always known that that Democrats don't like Israel. They're anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
All these things. Like, we all knew this, but suddenly, all these Jewish Democrats are like, wait, what? And we're like,
I marched with you in BLM. Why aren't you protesting with me against
and
Hamas?
you're like, welcome. Okay, so here we go. Like,
Yeah.
this is it's not even so much that what they're saying, it's in their stupidity. It's more so that a real agenda is being revealed,
It's
and
a
their
prevent-
real
it's-
motives are
it-
being exposed.
They're getting exposed.
Again, so speaking of Lois, right, who just recently left the Progressive Caucus.
Oh,
Yes,
yes, she did.
That's right.
What took her so long?
Yes.
Right.
It was okay to say kill the white people, but not kill the Jews.
Right. It's crazy. It's crazy pants. I mean, right.
Yeah. So I think if you look back, speaking of Palm Beach and Broward, we have a huge Jewish community here.
Oh, yeah.
And Jews vote at a high propensity, right? And when there's a high density of a high propensity population, you better have them in your coalition, right? And that's why Palm Beach has been winning it nonstop until last year when you guys kicked butt, right? and then because it all started back then in the early 1900s with FDR, who created the Rainbow Coalition, right? And it was after the crash, right? And everybody said, oh, the government is going to come and fix everything, right? And in order to, and by the way, it was after Calvin Coolidge too. And Calvin Coolidge was like, laissez-faire, hands off. The government should be the last thing that interferes with the people, right? It was really good. And then we had a complete pendulum swing to FDR, who took the...
Well, Hoover was in the middle there, too.
Yes.
And he was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the pendulum started swinging, and then it swung, right?
Yeah.
Right. And
Hard.
the federal government expanded. The way he consolidated power, electoral power,
Yes.
was through the coalition of the Jews, the blacks, the communists, the unions, the Southern segregationists, the KKK, Democrats, right? A lot of people don't know it.
No.
The Democrats are the party of slavery, the KKK, and segregation.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. And modern day racism comes from the Democrats.
Yes.
Right. So ever since then, so remember the Jews in New York, where there's huge clusters, right, and all that came they were leaning left, and that was big coalition. And ever since then, through Johnson and through Carter, and they love Obama.
Well, he
Right.
was the epitome of a minority minority
Intersectionalist.
and I also tell people a lot of times too, like a lot of Jewish people, are very focused on Judaism. It's very community oriented, and it's very taking care of the poor, and it's taking care of the sick, and it's taking care of
3,000 years of it.
right, exactly. So that's ingrained in the culture and in the fabric of the both the faith and the customs and the society.
Yeah.
And so when they sold the bill of goods that they did to this coalition of the Democrats and of the black community, and all of these communities that said, we're going to be here, we're going to help you, we're going to bring you up, we're going to do all these things, then that brought in that same conglomerate, that group of from the Jewish side, who were like, look, this is what they're going to be doing for all the people. This feeds into what we as in our faith and in our customs. And it was more the liberal Jews, not the more Reform Jews.
Yeah.
The more Reform Jews.
Hebrew-lite.
Yeah, the Hebrew-lite. Exactly. Not the more religious. Religious Jews are by far are more conservative in politics as well as in life. But that is kind of where that comes from. It comes from, because a lot of people have asked me, I've got that question a lot. Well, why do so many Jewish people, why? And here's why. It's because they sold them the bill of goods, the same as that they did the black community of, we are going to be the party to help the poor, to clothe the sick, to feed the hungry. This is what we're going to do.
And government will do it.
And government will do it. And so we're the Jewish community like, all right,
They played
great.
on the humanity.
Yes.
They played on the humanity to get buy-in, to make it where things felt better for people who were feeling that we're less than.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's feelings, not practicality. And by the way, I'll blow your mind a little bit here.
All right.
It didn't start with FDR, with the progressive Jewish. It started in Mount Sinai.
Why?
The golden calf Jews.
Yep.
They couldn't wait for Moses to come down with the law.
Yep. They had to make it unto
And
themselves.
they didn't believe in God. They're like, that's it. So they worshipped a golden calf then. Now they're worshiping the federal government.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yep.
Faithless.
Yes.
And I'm not religious. Coming from Israel, you kind of have Judaism in your being. Judaism is a way of life, right? But I have faith. I have faith in a higher power. I have, I know that, I have. How does anybody ever get over any hard times? If they're, if they're religious, they go to God and they pray to what they've learned to pray. If you have faith, then you know that you will overcome it. There's things that are bigger than you. And that's really what's happening, I think, across the country with the MAGA movement is that everybody's realizing they're so faithful. People in the MAGA movement are very, very faithful. And again, not religious. Like faithful.
There's a lot of people who've come back to their faiths. A lot of people, the churches are growing. I know people who are going back to synagogue. There's a lot.
I've heard
But
of
they
that.
tapped
I've
into
heard
it.
of that
Yeah.
too.
They
Yep.
see what man does, the evil, the tyranny of evil men, right? And then they say, I got to touch base. And when things are in turmoil, people go back to family, back to things that have
Back
worked.
to the roots.
Back to the roots.
Yeah.
And that's the family unit. And that's why the progressives like all this separation.
They want to
gender
destroy
confusion,
the
right?
nuclear family. Yeah.
Exactly, because they know that when people come back to the nuclear family, they got faith, and then they can do stuff, and they don't need the government.
Right. And then they bond with other families who are doing the same thing, and they build a community that is reliant on each other and not on the federal government.
Yeah.
Well, I think more and more as a culture in a society, it's like we're starting to remember that the devil or evil isn't necessarily a red guy with horns.
Yep.
It's actions. And so it's like people are starting to realize that, we all have a dark side, and we have allowed our politicians and our the people who run our government to kind of take over that dark side and to make that more prevalent in our life, and it's taken away our light. And I think way more people now are starting to gravitate more towards the light, and I think we're seeing that in society and cultures all over the place of having that faith again, of that, okay, and realizing that Trump's not some savior that's just going to come and save us. Like, we've got to do the work ourselves too. We have to do the action. We have to figure out and whether it's just to give our righteousness to God and say, like, this is the path that I choose, it's really putting forth those actions and creating again. We stopped creating energetically and just as a society for a long time because we allowed things to take over, like government and technology
And globalism.
and globalism, instead of using these tools that we have and our these amazing technologies that we have to our benefit, and being able to really work in cohesiveness of what is the best path forward, instead of being drowned out by this darkness that has been, so prevalent that we were kind of allowing other people like the media and everything else to I just realized that too. So we've allowed the media and everything to create this darkness because they reign supreme on that negative energy. They multiply it,
and they're going to keep fighting.
Exactly.
So like we have to be prepared to fight back and keep fighting back. It's the long game.
And where do we fight?
Locally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Local AF.
Local. You got to get local AF.
And
Local AF.
like for me, like I am so focused on the local level, and like I get frustrated because the national conversation just dominates.
Ugh.
And the Democrats are really good at this because they run a candidate for every single seat. Every single seat.
Well,
and we don't.
They're also cheating with funding too.
Well, yeah.
Well, that's a whole other conversation.
There's foreigners. Foreigners are funding school board races in the United States.
How?
So
Sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, you guys should go on the capitalresearch.com site and look up there's reports, Capital Research, and then you can see the deep dive that they did on non-profits. What do you know? Progressive Jew, Bankman Fried, his mom was part of it, right? The Stanford Observatory, right? So, I mean, she literally wrote out emails. So they're getting money from Switzerland and all these other places, from Qatar, from all these places, and they were funneling through nonprofits that are not supposed to be politicking, right?
Right.
So you can have
C3s.
Right. Yep.
C3s, right? And nobody enforced it ever, right? Just like a lot of things. So they were being
Selective enforcement,
and they've been funneling. And there's a letter that she wrote out to them. It's like, don't donate to the Democrat Party. Donate to these groups because the voter registration rate and whatever they're doing, politicking rate is 4-1 when you do it that way for your money, right? By the way, on the bottom note it says, don't tell the Republicans. I'm synopsizing, right? So yes, you're right. And they've been doing it for 30 years, if not more.
We got a lot to
I believe that it started in the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
Civil rights
Probably.
movement.
That's when a lot of these nonprofits were born out of the civil
And
rights.
again, they play off the humanitism.
That's it.
Because they come up with these nice words for the name of their organization that sounds so good, but then
Florida Rising.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Oh God.
What's the one on the big one on the
League of Women Voters.
Well, there's that one,
Oh.
but I mean, like the one that's big in like on the campuses that's supporting Palestine, but it's like
Students for Justice in Palestine.
there it is.
Yeah.
It sounds so nice. Students for Justice for the it sounds so good. It's just for justice. It's just for
Students
justice.
for Jew Purge.
Exactly. No, and they come up with all these things, and people,
Yeah.
Sorry. And
But that's how they deceive.
yeah, that's how they do it.
That's how they deceive
Well,
because they sound really good.
Enemy comes to lie,
you
kill,
know,
and destroy.
and then
But it started with the school boards.
Oh yeah.
And
Yes.
well, I mean, that's a whole thing back
Captured
in the 60s with Rockefeller,
institutions,
and
yeah.
they changed the way that the
Exactly.
school systems worked, and now we have
But that's the point. Is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
in the civil.
You capture the schools, then you indoctrinate in the schools, then they matriculate up, and then you've got a whole generation that's now captured.
and now we are.
Yeah.
And the school, the school board union, 94% of the donations from school board union goes to Democrats.
Oh, yeah.
candidates,
So-
But out of the
Just
unions.
like I don't remember if I think I talked about this. No.
What?
No. The last Broward GOP meeting. During new business, our new chairman allows, like basically an open mic. People can come up and discuss, bring forward new business ideas. And someone attempted to make a motion from the floor for the Broward GOP to endorse Trump as like before the primary, as the candidate, And it's like, we've got so many elections starting in March at the local level. We haven't had candidates speak at any of our meetings yet this year. I mean, other than the March candidates. No, because we've been mired in special elections since the end of August.
That's right.
And it's like, you've got the Broward GOP, which is supposed to be grassroots, local, county, school board, county, municipals. And here we're talking about endorsing a national candidate, giving up funding to do so.
Not just that. If the GOP is endorsing any Republican for president, right?
Yeah.
Trump, it doesn't matter, right? Then, and especially with the energy in Broward County, is that the NPAs find out about it.
Exactly.
How are
and
they going to
another
vote down
member
ballots?
and another member brought that up in follow-up comments. Like, you do this. Broward is a blue county.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody is MAGA in Broward.
Right.
Not even all the Republicans in Broward are MAGA. And so
like 10% of
you,
Republicans are MAGA there.
yeah, I mean, you do this as a county party, you could hurt all of the down ballot candidates.
Let's not do that. That's exactly what the Democrats did.
Well, they are
let's
talking
not
about doing that in Palm Beach too.
I mean, it's a
We'll be
movement.
stopping
It
that.
is a movement. At least 2 other counties in the state of Florida have formally endorsed Trump as the Republican candidate.
So they're
But
giving
that's
up
okay in
funding.
Lee County. It's okay to do it in Lee County.
Right.
It's okay
I mean,
because they're what? They're
heavily red county.
heavily. I think.
Yeah, but
I
they're
think it's
still
like
gonna give
50%
up any
Republican.
But they're giving up. To
that's
do
wrong.
so, you give up the
I
qualifying
didn't know
fees that
that.
come back from the state.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
give,
that's
and
new for
in
information.
Broward, like after the 2020 election, it was almost $15,000. And you think about $15,000 to a local candidate.
Oh man, it's huge.
It's
huge.
massive.
That's
in Palm
it's
Beach
huge.
County, it's about between 5 and 10,000 we would lose if we.
Yeah.
endorse
But
But
again-
still, any amount of money to lose it for something that doesn't really. I'm sorry. Is anybody really going to change their vote because the BREC or REC? No, it's just like platitudes, and it's so distracting.
It's a symbolic gesture.
Yes, but why? Let's focus on
Yeah.
stuff that we can actually control and
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Because we're dysfunctional on the county parties.
Yeah.
And it's good to hear that Palm Beach is getting better. And it's good to hear that Broward is hopefully
We're
getting
working
better.
on it.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
The
I
problem
have
is
faith. I have faith.
Jessica's got more faith than I do. But that's okay. Her faith will carry
My
us through.
question is, Ro, as a Broward County resident, why aren't you a member of BREC?
because
Especially since you have friends in.
so okay, let's finish my story.
Oh yeah. Okay,
Yes,
let's go
yes,
back to
please,
Salvo. Okay. We need to talk about that before we get going. Okay.
So fast forward, and then Jaggers like get a hold of DeSantis. So I pick up the phone and I call Al Cacace,
Al Kachi. Shout out Al R30.
Yes.
R30, who also I got does amazing gun training, which everybody knows,
Yes.
right? And I went to the range with him a few times, and he's got this beautiful old rifles that I got to shoot.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Al.
Yeah.
We
he's-
the Locals podcast range day.
He's got
Oh, yes, I'm down.
what's the gun that won the West? What's the name of that gun? I forgot.
Gun that won the West.
Yeah, I forgot.
Colt
Something
45?
minister or something. I forgot. I'm bad at that, right?
I shot my brother's Tavor. Sorry, I just had to.
Oh
shoot
yeah,
that. Yeah, shoot that out there.
That's a lot of recoil. On that, no?
But not really. It just had the gas was like coming out the thing because it was like I don't know the way it's done, but it was fun.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to say that. That was fun over Thanksgiving. You brought it down.
So Jagger said, get a hold of DeSantis. So we're like LinkedIn. Who do you know? Whatever. Again, we have no idea how to lobby, right? We're lobbying for the people, right? So I call Al. And he's like, yeah, let's speak with Laura, somebody in Palm Beach. Maybe Barnett can help you, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, why didn't you come over here? we have a steering committee, all right? And those of you who don't know, Palm Beach flipped red last year. A lot of it has to do with the energy of MAGA. A lot of it has to do with how good Florida is with the way it's being governed. And a lot of it had to do with bad candidates on the Democrat side, right? But we took advantage of it in Palm
Yes.
Beach.
We
We took
did.
advantage of it because we got organized and we had good candidates,
Yes.
right?
And I would say good candidates like Locals for Liberty, like
Yeah.
people grassroots that people really cared about the local level and good ideas, and just it was a culmination.
Marcy and Sarah, I mean, I worked closely with both of them, so there's others, right? They immersed themselves in understanding it. They immersed them. That's how you learn stuff fast. You just immerse yourself. You get obsessed. So every successful person needs to be a little bit obsessed.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Well, the other night we had
all fit that bill. I
the other night we had a conversation and we all had to introduce ourselves, and a few of us at the table were there, and the question was asked was, "What is your What do you do for fun, and what are your hobbies?
Politics.
Politics. Why else would I be here? Like, it's a Tuesday night. I would be here. Where else am I going to be?
And we had fun.
We had a lot of fun.
Yes.
I'm just, so I was like, yeah, this is what we do. This is why we're all here.
Yeah, so to answer your question is Al Kakachi invited me to be in a steering committee and because he knew what I did with Defense
In
Florida.
Palm Beach County.
In Palm Beach County. And Chairman Barnett is a freaking great delegator, meaning that he knew that the chairman is not running the party. Right, he's not supposed to run the party. The constituent, not the members should run everything that's happening.
It's our party.
So, and I also don't believe in. I know we have all these committees, right? And nothing comes out of those committees, and we don't put focus on the number one committee that everybody should have, and the only committee, which is candidate recruitment.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
We should everybody. If I had an advice to every county chair in Florida, I would say eliminate all your committees and have one single candidate recruitment committee and make it big and make it strong. But what Barnett did, and Al, through Al's management, is they went through the executive branch. So we didn't have a committee. We had, under Barnett, we had a steering committee, and we had Linda Stock in it, and we had Jody in it, Jane, other people that are instrumental in Palm Beach over the years, and we came up with the plan. We had you guys, we had them up north. We had people. We had Lynn and West, helping Sarah. So we strategized, and we did it. So that's how we took advantage of a good environment when Broward couldn't.
We had some successes. I mean, we had some
Yeah.
22 successes, but it's really hard to compare Palm Beach and Broward. The landscape.
There is similarities and not.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you got to get out the vote.
Yeah.
And you got to influence NPAs, right? Get out the base, influence the NPAs. That's it. That's what you're doing. 90% of Republicans are going to vote Republicans,
Yeah.
So, and then we don't have enough Republicans.
The fact
There.
that, DeSantis got 43% of the vote in Broward, I believe,
Oh, yeah?
which
That was more than usual.
when
Yeah.
Democrats outnumber Republicans 3-1.
So NPAs voted for him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Just wasn't
Yeah.
enough to pull.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to make sure that we get to talk about Salvo specifically.
This is all Salvo.
This is all Salvo, but like, how
Salvo
did you
101.
leverage it into so where did you go, and then what is it exactly?
Right. So Salvo came from election integrity. It was born out of election integrity. So I took what I've learned with the voter rolls, and I was like, hey, I can protect the vote all I want. But if we don't get Marcy's getting elected, then what's the point, right? We're going to just have establishment people that, right? So I said, I looked at it, instead of being just in a single pillar, I had two pillars now. You get out the vote, and then you protect it, right? That's the way I started looking at it.
So he's going Lishmo.
Biduk, exactly.
It means to guard and to observe.
Yes.
So on the two candles that you light on Friday night, you light two candles
Okay.
to bring in the Shabbat,
Yes.
and one of them is to remember, and one of them is to do or to observe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. Like I said, Zionism is constitutional conservatism.
I love it. I love this.
It's all connected.
It's
It
all
is.
connected. So Salvo was born out of election integrity, taking what I knew from the voter rolls and saying, okay, instead of finding the ghost registration, let me find a highly probable people to vote for this particular candidate, right? And I learned a lot. And again, Jaggers came in from that side now, and helped me with some candidates, calibrate myself, understand how to do it. And then we took the same application that we built for door knocking for election integrity, and we started flipping the data and starting targeting voters. And then I worked with you and Marcy, and so it firsthand, where I realized that, grassroots organizations are so disorganized.
Yes.
And we're lacking a startup mentality, and I come from a startup world. And so in a startup is you got to move fast because that's your advantage. Startup against an incumbent has got they're just there, and they have money and they have that. Startup, they start with agility and of movement, but in order to do that right, you got to have very simple organization. because you have fewer people, local election, right? And then I looked at my company, and I built my older company because there was no software out in the e-commerce space that allowed small and medium-sized merchants to list their products on shopping engines, right? They'll only have to go to agencies, right? And they'll pay commission. They're paying $1,500 a month. So I built this software, and I said it's called Software as a Service, SaaS, right? And I built it, and I said I started $29 a month, right? And I built it from one guy here in Pompano Beach, and I was like, there's thousands of them like it, right? And I realized, and thousands and thousands of customers came, tens of thousands over the years, right? And I realized that with software, with basic automation, you can help small organizations achieve things, right? People, process, technology, right? So Salvo was born out of my activism, but also my e-commerce, my data and software background. And then just started building on it. I learned so much from me. I learned so much from Marcy. And then we came up with the concept of the right voter with the right message at the right time, which is maximizing those $15,000. So how do you stretch those $15,000, right? You stretch it out by not bombarding every high-propensity Republican 30 days before the elections.
Yeah.
You go to the high-propensity Republicans who like to vote by mail, right? And I'm not giving in any way secrets. These are things that are commonly known, but nobody has executed them before in a way where you can rinse and repeat and scale. Right. So my whole goal was we got to take the country back one locality at a time.
I love it.
Yes.
And to do that, you need scale, and they operate like small merchants.
Yeah.
Right. Some of my merchants operate in a room like this with a warehouse. Right. So same methodology, and then we started. And Marcy and you guys used it very well. Sarah would text. She would text in the morning, I'm coming, and go knock on those doors. She'll take the data, boom. She'll keep give me more data. And back then the software wasn't even ripe yet. Right. The app was like a legacy SQL and stuff like that. Now Salvo sits on top of platforms that Uber runs on. So for example,
wow.
Oh, okay.
Right, so those type of platforms, very, very modern. Now we even have even bigger data. We know.
I can't wait to use it.
yeah, and we have we bring in FEC data now with donations.
Wow.
We have that's huge.
That's huge. Okay, can you tell Abby, because you told us a little bit about how that that can be leveraged for candidates?
Yeah, so NPAs, right? You got to win them over, right? How do you know which way they're leaning?
How they contribute, who they contribute to.
Yeah. So consumer data. So you layer data, the voter roll data. First, you have to have good algorithms to know where their propensity is, right? And then you lay it out on top of that. So I started out with property tax data. Florida is great about data.
Oh, big time.
Except
That
elections.
goes back to what you were saying. We like our data.
Yeah. So compared to other states, again, Florida has done it right in the last 20 years when it comes to election data. There's a problem with election systems that we need to oversee them, and they're not letting us, and that's a whole different story, right? But we're not talking about election integrity here. We're talking about getting people elected. So you layer the data. I took the property tax data, but then you see, so somebody lives in $1 million home, then eggs are not that expensive for them. Right. Somebody lives in a $200,000 home, eggs are very expensive for them, right? Different messaging. But it's not as accurate because you could have property that you're renting out to people and stuff like that, right? So when you take consumer data, but especially the donation data, and especially the FEC's data, it's since 1975.
Wow.
Try uncompiling that data. Right?
No thanks.
Yeah. So that's why it's
My
taking
husband
us.
would love that. He'd be like, let's do this.
Yeah, that's why it's taking us a little bit
there's
longer.
rows in the world.
Yes, that's why. Exactly. You just tell me what I need to do.
But the thing is that you can't just write software and give all these features and all that. You got to write software like you cut a mullet haircut. Mullet, right? Everybody knows what a mullet is,
Business
right?
in the front, party in the back.
Exactly. Exactly. High processing in the front, in the back, right? In the front, simple software. Make it simple.
Yep.
Easy to use.
You got to give people the illusion of choice. That's why Amazon figured out.
Yeah.
The illusion of choice. You're only going to give them a few things, but you have all these products and all that, but half of them are made in China and they're going to break in 2 days.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the thing. You build simple software, purpose-built for local candidates with great data. We also have guided journeys. So we can do, we help with your field operations. So in a small team, right? you're knocking on doors by yourself, and you have a smaller municipality, right? So you can do it, right? But Brian, for example, Brian's got 100,000 voters in Boca.
Wow.
Right? And he's gonna need to knock on 10,000 doors, right? So he needs a team, right? And that team has got maybe a comms person, and they need somebody to help them, like a Bill O'Reilly, to help them knock on doors and to manage other
Shout out Bill Riley.
Shout out to Bubba Bill.
The beast. The door-knocking beast.
You know how we said everybody needs a Wendy Link? Everybody needs a Bill O'Reilly.
Everyone needs Bill O'Reilly.
Yes.
I would actually take Bill O'Reilly over a Wendy Link.
Any day.
Did you hear that, Bill?
He knows I love him. He's amazing. He's an amazing person.
He is.
Yes, he is.
So the guided journeys is we help you, first of all, with the software. It's easy to use, right? But we help you understand the right voter, the right message. How do you do it? We lay it out. We pre-plan. We give you insights and all that. And then based on the insights, you build a game plan. You build a timeline. Because what happens is you sit with your team and somebody writes down notes. Josie was the note writer. I remember that. And then we'll go to the next meeting, and that was before the software was fully built. We had to wait for Josie to come with the notes. What did we talk about last time? Right? And then she's busy. She has to go create events for Marcy. She has to go and they do fundraising. She has to take care of her kids. She has a job. All these things that we do on a local level. And we forget. So by the time we get back to the next meeting, it's like we have to restart all over again. Where do we know? So instead, we've built it all into the software. So when you leave the meeting and you come back the next day or a week later or 2 weeks later, you're like, okay, I'm recalibrated immediately because today this weekend we're going door knocking in precinct 708, right? And I see up the line, VBMs are coming. So, hey, Jessica, did you remember to talk to the graphic designer and the printer? Because we need to get those we need to get those mailers out, right? Because we need to get to those high propensity Republican voters who like to vote by mail, all right?
Which everybody should be.
And the high propensity NPAs who donate to Republicans who like to vote by mail.
Yeah, because a lot of people,
oh my God.
I'm trying to remember where we talked about it, but it was local. I don't know if it was in Breck or where, but like there's a lot of people that stay in PA because of their business or their work, their employment.
Yeah.
You know, they're afraid they're going to be discriminated against if they are a Republican. And it's like it's a shame that it's like that, but
yeah, it is a shame, but politics and religion should be talked about.
yes,
It should be, yeah.
So you have also we have like a poor man's version of identifying persuadable NPAs, which is households. If you live with three people who are Republican, you're likely to be. If you're an NPA, you're likely to be a Republican, right? So I mean, there's different ways to do it. Everybody's different. Your race is completely different than Brian's race, and that's what's so nice about that mosaic of our country.
Yeah.
You know, which is it's jurisdiction based. It's federalist, right? It's the same system up and down the thing, but it's so different based on where you are, and it's supposed to be local. It's supposed to be you're supposed to go and knock on your mayor's door to solve problems. I'm supposed to be able to go and pick up the phone and call Marcy and say, "Hey, Marcy, I have a problem with the zoning, with people not letting me park my trucks." Right? When was the last time you went to D.C. and knocked on the White House door?
Or even
the progressive was trying to
That's
burn
an
it down.
Right, that's an insurrection.
Yeah, that's an insurrection.
Or even your House rep. I mean, like, I'm not going to Jared Moskowitz's office. I don't even know where it is. Knocking on his door.
Yeah, but I mean that's still. I mean, even so, Salvo can help Congress people. The problem with that is that Congress is so expensive to run.
yeah.
Right? If you're running, you need $1 million. Like to start with, you need $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to beat Debbie Wasserman Schultz, you're going to need to start with $15 million to start with. You know. And
Are you familiar with Crissetti's race down there?
I don't like Crissetti.
Oh.
I don't like FBI agents. Meaning, I like. He's fine as a president. Let me retract that statement. I don't know Crissetti on a personal level.
Okay.
I don't like the fact that he's an FBI agent running for federal office.
Okay.
And when I spoke to him about it, he wasn't clear about fixing the FBI.
I gotcha.
Right. So I have a problem with that. So I will not support him. That will be in what do you call it? What do you call a ballot? It's not a race. It's not marked. Undervote. That will be an undervote.
An undervote.
Yeah.
Undervote is when you don't vote for down ballot races.
Yeah.
You're talking about strictly in the primary or in the general?
In the primary, I'll probably vote for Carla. if she's running.
She may not be in that district anymore. I know.
Yeah,
I hear
I don't know.
rumors.
Then I might skip it. Yeah, I can't vote for an FBI agent.
Even in the general.
I cannot. I think FBI agents should all quit
Disband the FBI. I mean, I have a lot of.
before we disband them.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
I don't disagree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if they had conscience, they'll all quit and go work it for the border patrol.
Well, that'd be great. Well, if they would
Or
have
for the
allowed
marshals.
them,
Yeah, go
if
for
they would
marshals.
allow them to
Yeah.
do what they need to do.
They got to do it now because they're going to be pushing paper clips come 2025. That's what's going to happen.
I definitely agree
hope
with
so.
that statement. I hope that that's definitely true.
I hope so. Okay, so so it can be used for congressional races, but it's more so probably like for
Yeah.
state level down.
Yeah, it's purpose built for the local
Right.
candidate with like their best friend as their campaign manager,
Mm-hmm.
right? A couple of their buddy, like Sarah went knocking on doors with her husband's firefighter
Mm-hmm.
colleagues, right? So it's like a small campaign that's raising anywhere between $25,000 to, I mean, Marcy won with $35,000, but that was an anomaly, right?
A little bit,
it was,
yes.
It was like a perfect storm, right? But yeah, depending on the race, of course, right? But the idea is to stretch your dollar.
Yeah.
And that system allows you to stretch your dollar, allows you to interact, to get good interactions. Like when people start using Salvo, and I have several candidates already knocking on doors now that are running in August, because they need to get ahead of time. Because raising funds is so hard, they need to get ahead with voter engagement. So what we're doing right now is we are sending them to pleasant engagements. We want them to feel good about their race.
Get
we want,
comfortable
we
with
want-
those
yeah,
conversations.
and our data is so good,
Right.
and it's so easy to use it, right? The average grassroots volunteer that engages with voters is a 57-year-old woman, right?
The average volunteer.
The average voter contact person, right? So the REC is probably a little bit older. Right?
Yeah, I definitely
Right.
bring the average age down by like
We all
10
bring the age,
years.
right?
We all do.
But the people that actually go out,
We're
and,
technically not
Yeah,
supposed
I
to be
mean-
doing this for another 10 years or so.
I mean,
for
the
me,
people
it's
that
like
are
20.
the most dedicated door knockers, canvassers, are the retirees who have time during the week
Yeah.
to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's another thing is like the young Republican. We've mentioned it before. The young Republicans in Miami got somebody running. He's from.
He's
there.
young, yeah.
He's young, and they won. Again, I want to say, Nikki Fried, you got your whooped by the young
By a bunch
Republicans
of
in Miami.
teenagers.
Yes.
Just Gen Zers.
So the point is that
Zoomers.
that's a nut that we haven't cracked yet, all
Right.
of us, and we need to. We need to engage the young Republicans and log
Yes.
cabin Republicans. Part of it is on them, part of it is on us. And I'm not taking responsibility for everybody here. I'm just saying the culture in an REC and the party is not conducive to young people coming in there.
Right.
No.
It's for them. It's like, why am I walking into this geriatric fight?
Right. Where everyone's screaming at each other.
Yeah, and it's factions and fractions.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Right. So
Cannot disagree with that.
No.
yeah.
that's very true.
So they're like, I want to go on a social. I want to go have some beers
Yes.
and hit on some girls and then maybe do some politics.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that's why, like Region 5 was so successful because it was like we were a little younger and then we would go hang out at like the beer garden after meetings and we would
Well,
go
same thing
have
with Locals for
lunch.
Liberty.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Same
But
thing.
how many people from Local for Liberty go knock on doors?
A bunch of
lot.
them did for my campaign. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what we need.
Yeah.
We need to, and Salvo is great for Locals for Liberty. Salvo is great for Moms for Liberty, right? Because they're all super localized. But
Yeah.
they're motivated. They're mama bears,
Oh,
Yes.
they're
Right?
intense.
Yes.
and they're fighters,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
And but they're also pleasant. And you always send a woman to the door. You never send two men. Seriously. Doors open. So door opens, you probably know this, and 20% of the time is a good rate. 25% of the time. So out of 100 door knocks, that's what happened with the election integrity. 24,000 door knocks. We found X amount opened up and we found 5,000 irregularities. And that was just a drop in the bucket, right?
Yeah.
And we still found it. So you pretty much throw a stone and you're going to hit a voter that should be removed from the voter rolls. So engage with the young conservatives. I don't even say Republican.
Right.
I am a Republican, but for me, I'm like an American.
Yeah.
Yep.
People love this country and understand that we
Yes.
can't have the deterioration. And thank God to Elon Musk that made it a little bit easier for
Yes.
more people
Oh,
to
yeah.
wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So
He
just
made it a lot more fun too.
Yeah.
fun.
Twitter's been so much fun this
Twitter's
past
so
year.
fun.
Yes.
So much fun.
I
And
agree
he's
with
been so
that.
much fun.
He
Yeah.
has been. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love his last
Okay.
interview. Okay.
I'm going to take a donut now.
Yes.
I keep smelling them,
I know,
and
I
they're
smell
like
them too.
wafting towards me. Okay, so Ro, before we're gonna probably wrap up soon. So before we do though, where can people find Salvo. Where can they follow you? Like social medias. How do people connect with you?
Yes. So salvo.today, not salvo.com. Salvo.today, because salvo.com wasn't available. Dang. And you can look it up there. Very cost effective. Very. I hired some people recently that really help a lot with a lot of experience. So you go there. On social, Salvo is on. I'm a Twitter guy. X guy, right? I don't do much Instagram because my audience is politics.
Sorry that our audience can't taste these delicious
Are
donuts.
you having one, bro?
I will
How do you
have
say
one
it?
in a second.
How do you-
Sufgania.
Sufgania?
Yeah, sufgania. And you eat in Hanukkah you eat fried food because it
Everything.
symbolizes the
Latkes,
oil
yeah.
that lasted.
I definitely
I
had
love
latkes
fried
for
food.
dinner tonight.
yum.
And in
Me
Israel, the bakeries, they're like all the whole week of Hanukkah, it's all you smell is fried dough because all the bakeries put all of them, and they are like decorated. They're stuffed with. You can get them filled with everything. You get them decorated, and they have all their tables laid out on like the streets, and
This
you
is
just like
amazing.
walk in, and all it's just wafting just chocolate and dough.
It's awesome.
Amazing.
It's awesome. It's unfortunate that around the country and around the world now they're canceling Hanukkah celebrations because of
Speaking of Gavin Newsom,
yeah, right. So
he planned to Zoom the Hanukkah, the lighting of
yeah.
lighting of the Hanukkah candles.
So what is work from home? What is that? Hanukkah from home? Is that what it is now?
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
Well, going back to the Jewish demographic here in Palm Beach County, I'm hoping that they are more receptive these days.
Yeah,
Beca-
I know
and-
that Boca is having theirs.
Yeah,
on,
well, yeah, of course.
next week, but-
Yeah, but the point is that one of the great responsibilities that we have, and especially you and me, Josie, is being Jewish, is to liaison the expansion of the coalition, America First Coalition, right?
That's right.
Young people love America First, black, especially black men, Hispanics. They're all. That's why the progressives are freaking out. That's why they're throwing all these lawsuits and Trump and all that because they know that it's a free. What to say? If it's a fair fight, right? He's wiping the floor with everybody, right? So we need, and for us, being local, it's much easier to have those conversations because they do have
Right.
TDS, and you're not going to get over that. So it's much easier for me to go and speak with a Jewish Democrat voter in Broward or Palm Beach right now and tell them about Brian, tell them
Right.
about Abby,
Right.
and why, even though there's an R next to her, or I guess in municipal sometimes you don't have, right? But when they find out about it,
They usually ask.
yeah,
They ask, and then
they
you
ask.
go, I lean more conservative. So
Yeah.
that's always my response.
Well, I am a member of the Broward County.
Is that what you can say? Can you say that?
You can say that you're a precinct committee. I'm getting donut dust all over this thing.
Locals for Liberty.
Locals for Liberty, yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the organizations that I'm
Fortunately
affiliated with.
for me, Lighthouse Point is a highly Republican area.
Yeah, I saw that. That's the
Yeah.
thread.
Yeah. Oh wait, I had another question.
Oh, did you give your Twitter handle?
Oh yeah, what's your Twitter handle? Or is
So
it
the best, if you want to have good information, kind of like the conversation today, we have a pack called Local AF, not
Okay.
related to Salvo. But I also realize a lot of elections, a lot of things when it comes to election integrity, you need to have be a candidate, a PAC committee, right?
So people can donate to your PAC too.
People can donate to the
Okay.
PAC, of course, and there's candidates that are on a docket for us, and we're going to be supporting. So the best way to
making a
do
mess.
is to go to
I know that's why I'm tearing mine.
We Are Local AF.
Sorry. Okay, we are local AF.
We Are Local AF on Twitter.
Okay. So
Next.
at We Are Local AF.
Yep, that's the best
And
place
he
to do it.
interacts with our Twitter account.
You guys are
quite
my
frequently.
favorites.
Thank you.
Yay!
We are locals because we're Local AF.
That's right.
That's
That's right. We almost, there was one point where I think you were just starting with adding the local AF was coming out, like similar time frame. I
Yeah.
think when we were doing ours, and
Yeah.
that came out of my mouth. And it did because I think it was one night and I was like really tired and we were talking and Jessica's like, we can't do that. That's Rose. And I was like, oh yeah, that is Rose. I didn't come up with that. It was like ingrained. It was like implanted in my mind, like conceptualized in my mind. She's like, that's Rose. I was like, oh yeah, that is Rose. We can't do that.
Yeah.
So I love
we're-
it.
We're firstly America
We're
first.
good partnership. Yes. Firstly, America first. Yeah, absolutely. So, All right.
Well, thank you so much, Ro, for being with us this evening. I definitely
Yes, thank
hope
you.
maybe after the municipals or something, you can come back and kind
Any
of give us an
questions or
update of what's going on. Abby, do we have any comments or anything that we need to?
Well, Brian Stenberg said, come knocking doors with me in Boca and you'll get to use Salvo.
Woo!
And you'll get a free t-shirt.
Ooh. If you would like to, Brian's information, reach out to us. You can email us at wethelocalsfl@gmail.com, and we can hook you up with his campaign. You can also check us out online, wethelocalspodcast.com. Be sure to check out our sponsors, R30 Agency and Salvo.today.
Thank you, Ro. Very
Thank you
much.
so much for your support,
Yes.
Ro. We definitely appreciate you. We love what you're doing. Stay local. Have a great night, everybody, and stay local.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.